Good afternoon. Welcome to the Energy and Environmental Conservation Committee meeting for Thursday, September 14th. I'm Cynette Cavaliere. I'm the chair of the group. And joining to me today is a slightly smaller group, but if we can start with you, Rosanne, to introduce yourself.
I'm Rosanne Cohen.
Pat Schichler.
Roy Green.
Matt Prinzing, town staff.
Okay, thanks. Okay, if you are familiar with our committee, we are sitting in a slightly different orientation, which allows us to have a little bit more of a work session, which one of our goals today is this will facilitate that activity. So we'll dive into our agenda here. The first one is the review and the approval of the minutes from the August 10th meeting. Does anybody have any issues or corrections for those minutes? If not, can I have a motion to approve them?
I move to approve the minutes of August 10th, 2023.
Second.
Thank you. All opposed? Do that again. All in favor of accepting the minutes? Yay. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. One of these times I will get that right. Okay, next in is the review of some of our required items, and the first one is town development projects. Do we have any?
There are no town development projects to be reviewed at this time. And for your information, the the planning board meeting was canceled tonight.
Okay. Are there any requests from town board?
Not at this time.
Okay. Are there any clean energy community actions?
There are. We'll start with LED streetlight update. The town contractor, or the contractor for the town at the beginning of this week was at 30% of the LED streetlights have been placed, or the streetlights have been converted. The second item, which actually is not on here, is the CCA public information meeting that's coming up for the renewal of the CCA program, which is Community Choice Aggregation, is Monday, September 18th at 6 p.m. So that's this coming Monday, the 18th at 6 p.m.
Right here.
Right here.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, well, that was lovely and quick, which means that we can dive right into our old business with our work session. Our goal today is to see if we can wrap up our work on the tree ordinance so that we could send it to the town board. This would be a lovely goal to accomplish, just given the timing of the year. This would allow this to have the greatest chance of getting through before the end of the year, which would be a nice thing for us to say that we did accomplish this year.
So we did send out an updated version based on the review of the town attorney. There were some minor formatting changes, and then just basically the organization of the different sections needed to be changed so that it fits our town code. And lastly, it was put in the format of with the ability to enact the local law. Basically, that's how it goes in front of the town board.
Yep. So that's what Matt has put up on the screen there for us, is that format. If it's possible, if we can go quickly through the other one, just to kind of show, I did have a work session with Sarah and Matt, and we went through quite a few of the clauses and realized that there was a lot of redundancy in how things were written, and there was a lot of things based on the scope of our tree ordinance being related to town trees only that were really irrelevant for this ordinance. So we've gone ahead and deleted those from the final version. Just kind of want to scan some of those so that you can see what it is that we just totally either replaced with or tucked in somewhere else or just totally eliminated.
Was that updated on the shared site?
Yes.
Okay, because I looked
So
at that today.
That's what Matt has up right now.
Okay,
Yes.
I looked at that today, so I
Yeah, so this was the Google Doc that
Probably
we've been
saw what-
updating, but this version essentially got rearranged and updated into the one that got sent to the town attorney.
Okay.
So all the changes that we'll see here is in that version that went to
Great.
town
Reflected.
attorney. Right.
Yeah. But as we'd gone through and made comments, I just kind of want to make sure that you can see what we actually ended up
Yeah,
pulling
so
out.
there was this mention in the purpose of trees on private property, which, we didn't want any mention of trees on private property. So we made sure that we're referencing town trees, which are well-defined, and limb thereof on public property. So that's why we removed that.
And you'll
particular
notice
spot.
a difference between this version and the attorney-reviewed version. The words that have definitions are capitalized in this version, and in the final version, they will not be.
Right. Yeah. We took out the definition for diameter breast height, DBH, just because there's no reference to DBH in this ordinance. Eventually, in the town forestry plan, it would be more appropriate to have it there. But since we don't reference DBH in this ordinance or any other ordinance in the town code, that's why it was taken out just for.
I guess that is another comment too, because we are incorporating the use of a town forestry plan. Some of those things that would make more sense to be fluid in that town forestry plan were also pulled from here.
And those changes are partially based on discussion in this group.
Sure.
And that we just talked about during the meeting, but Matt did the follow-up of actually completing the action requested.
So the numbers that are quoted here, which I can't quite read through the strike-through, but that's retained for usage later and the town forestry
So
plan?
I would recommend that we not refer to these when we're looking at the town forestry plan. I would recommend that we rely on the town arborist at that time
Okay.
to give us recommendations.
Okay.
Same with highway. That was one that we really didn't use in the ordinance, or I keep mentioning ordinance because we called this the town tree ordinance.
You can call it an ordinance for our working document. I'm fine with that.
So highway was removed because it was effectively more well-defined as just public property. So that's why we removed that. The mentioning of town forestry plan was added, and we pulled the definition from the Fairport tree ordinance for their tree management plan. So delegation of authority and responsibility. We thought we could summarize this better just as town tree rather than, trees and woody plants growing in upon all municipal streets, blah, blah. It's basically, just, summarizing that all up in just the word town tree.
And because we already have that definition, it's
Right.
not necessary to expand in
Exactly.
that spot.
Yeah.
What's the definition of town tree? The final definition?
You passed
Oh,
it.
I passed
It's in alphabetical order.
Okay, so any tree or woody vegetation on town-owned or town-maintained property or town right-of-ways.
Okay.
So in this, do you have the right-of-way? There was something where it mentioned right-of-way and it did, oh, never mind, it's right there. You spelled it out and then you put the
abbreviation.
acronym in the, okay,
Yeah.
fine. I saw the ROW, but I hadn't hit on the words, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, same as here where there was a section here that, mentioned trees that may threaten electrical, telephone, all these things that are essentially mentioned in the hazard definition. So we felt like we could remove that and simply say trees or town trees or limb thereof that is deemed a hazard.
And hazard is that defined word.
Right, right.
Didn't we make a small change in coordinating among town departments based on the
Yes.
town attorneys?
Yeah, let me
recommendation?
let me go over to, that's not the one. Okay, so I apologize. This was one change that was made to this one that went to the town attorney and not that one in the Google Doc. But I just wanted to make sure, because one of the comments from the town attorney is that this coordination among town departments was a little vague. So he wanted to, have more specification on what that coordination would look like. So I added that all town departments will coordinate as necessary with the director to develop and review the town's design and construction specifications and town forestry plan to ensure compliance with this law.
And director is previously defined in the paragraph above.
Yes, and the delegation of authority and responsibility. So essentially, this would empower, or enable this committee to advise the director through the town forestry plan, and other departments. The town arborist would be able to advise them. It doesn't. Sorry,
specifically how it's written, it does not give the authority to this committee. The way it's written is it gives the authority of the town to the town departments to work with the director and the director to make the final decisions. Within that, if the director does have questions, they can go to the town board or go to other committees or boards, but it is not specifically giving authority to this committee, just to be clear.
So if we wanted to say something, would this cover us going to a town department to ask them to present on our behalf, to pass inquiries or information along?
If
Like
could you-
DPW, well, like, say we had a concern, what is the channel to get our concern, to say something, since it doesn't give us
I think
anything
you
under
would
this
take
section?
the same channel as any other resident and go to the town board. Or you would bring a concern to the code enforcement.
I would say as a committee, we would do that. If we had something, we would make that request as part of our committee.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
Sarah's saying something different.
It wasn't in there, it really wasn't in there before either. So, and I think a lot of this will come down to when the forestry plan gets developed, if there ends up being some sort of forestry group, which is, I believe, one of the requirements.
There's a town tree department.
That's-
That's
yeah,
the
there
requirement.
needs to be
and
something.
there is as the DPW.
Yeah.
Well, there's, I just because of my background there's always policy, the law, and then there's application. So I'm just trying to follow through as a committee. So I'm hearing two separate things. You're saying as a committee, we would bring it to someone, but you're saying we would, just like any individual, would report in or check in.
I'm saying that this document does not give the committee the authority to make a decision.
Right, I understand that.
So if an individual in the town has a concern about a tree or an area or something, it's the same process. If this is moved forward or not, with that concern, it would come either to a department or to the town board specifically.
So that's what I'm kind of circling back to, which I think I said originally was, if we have a concern, we would go to whatever appropriate department.
Or the town board.
Or the town board as a committee.
We could
No,
go as a committee or as an individual. As a committee, we would have the same rights as an individual.
But it would not be as a committee, it would be as a group.
Right, or
I'm saying
we
it-
could put it as a committee item and do it. It just, we wouldn't have any more say than if we were a citizen individual presenting it.
And that's, again, why I'm trying to say, it would not be a town committee bringing it to the group, or to the town board, or to a department.
It'd just be a
It
group
would
of
be
people
a
that are
group
part of the
of
committee.
people that are part of the committee. So it's separate from committee members bringing it to the town board or a department. Does that differentiation, does that make sense, the difference?
Well, I'm hearing it, I'm not sure I care for it.
Maybe that's the same, yes.
I do
agree with
understand
you.
that.
I've got you on that one.
Is that your?
I mean, that was one of the big topics at our last meeting, like at the last meeting, and if we were to review the minutes, I believe the conclusion was that this committee was not the authority to make decisions on trees
Well,
in the
making a
town.
decision, to my definitions, is different than raising a concern, and I just feels like working as a committee together, there should be a process for us, not to say that the department or the town board would give us any more weight than anybody else, but it
Then
just...
what's the point?
Well, it feels like as a committee, we should be able, to just so that they know where it's coming from. I don't know, then they can decide whether it's more weight or not more weight.
So are you thinking like there might be a situation where there might be a tree that we strongly feel that should be preserved, that's a town tree, and there's a situation where we'd want to make that aware of, make that...
Yeah,
make the
I suppose that could be
authority aware of
an
it.
example. I mean, it's probably rare, but
I think we still have that authority now, I would think.
I mean, I would say if you have a concern, you absolutely have the right to bring it to the town board. The committee, a committee in town making a recommendation to the town board is different than bringing a concern to the town board. Does
Yeah,
that
but
make sense? Because
It does, but what I'm saying is like as the Energy and Environment Committee, we have certain things that we look at, right? So town development projects, for example, right? So we look at those if we're asked to look at those. But if we have let's say, in the town forestry plan that gets developed, we want to put some stuff in there about, maybe planting of trees or native trees or, that sort of thing that we want to put into to protect and promote species and diversity and that sort of thing. We can still do that under this ordinance, if I read this correctly.
it does not prevent us from doing that. The key phrase that you used was at the town board's request. So all of the committees, there's only really two that I'm
Exist at the town
exactly
board's
privy
request,
to,
yes.
is this committee and transportation, all of our actions are at the town board's request. So if, say, the town board wants a project reviewed, they give that authority to this committee to review it and make a recommendation to whatever applicable board. That's what they've done with all of the planning board projects as well. So that's why this committee reviews those. The town board has not asked this committee to review individual town trees in town. They've asked this committee to make a sample local law tree ordinance in this situation. I'll say they're interchangeable, even though in legal terms they're not. They've asked us to do that. What my understanding of what's being requested of, or the situation that's being discussed is, if there's a concern about something that, say, the director of the DPW is having done in town to town trees, that's not a request that concern is brought to the town board by the committee. It's, as a resident, you can, and in my opinion, should bring up a concern that you have. If there's a group of residents, all the better for that group of residents to come together and bring that up. But as Pat said, this committee, individual residents don't get more say in what's happening on town land in that regard than
The other one else.
Joe Schmo down the street.
Sure. I understand that.
I guess I was not thinking about specific trees or anything, was more in the development of the town forestry plan.
And hopefully the town board will, when that comes forward, at the time for us to do that, will request this committee to participate in that creation. But at this time, I mean, it hasn't even come before the town board to begin with, so I can't even say myself what that will be.
And I think what Roy was bringing up about maybe species or groves or things like that, I mean, I can't imagine necessarily being involved with a specific tree. Of course, you learn never to say never, but, that's probably more along my unspoken thought processes was what you were saying something more global. But, and I know from last time you said, this committee might not be there, so you hesitate to put a certain committee in. But is that really so 100%? Because it's my understanding that the state requires each town to have some form of conservation
The
committee.
state requires if a town has a conservation committee that they meet certain regulations.
Only if they have a committee, not that they should have a
So
committee.
the way that the
Okay.
law is written is that a town may have a
Okay.
conservation council or et cetera.
Okay,
So it's not a requirement by that.
okay. All right, that clears that part. Yes, that makes sense. All right, I suppose some of this we'll just have to deal with should, like the, it would be nice, as you said, it would hope that they would come to this board or committee to talk about, say, let's review this forestry plan, and I guess it just feels hard to let go of because we have met so many, years talking about it really has been years, maybe even a decade at this point, to totally not have any mention that it's all, back on the town. Well, we'll look for you if we need you or want you. So
I don't-
that's the and I know Daniel was he's not here to speak for himself, but I remember after the last meeting, I said, are you okay with this? And it's like,
And I'm not saying that this committee is not valued. I'm saying that it's the town board's decision. So us as staff members, it's our job to give you those facts and understand. Technically, you could put EECC makes whatever determination for whatever. I will tell you that if that happens, it may not get passed. It may not get passed in the state it's in. I don't get to
Sure.
make that decision.
sure.
So, like I said, it's our job to give you the facts and to talk about town code and give you examples and those types of things.
Okay.
That said, the new wording of the coordination among town departments is very good because it does include both the forestry plan as well as the town's design and construction specifications, which is what we've been asking for, is at least in an interim, let's get those things written
Yes.
and developed so that
Yes.
we could have that.
That's good.
So it's kind of removed some of that out there, like,
The kind of ad hoc,
procedurals.
look for it when we need it. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
So it says, will coordinate as necessary with the
Yeah.
director to develop and review the town's design and construction specification and town forestry plan. There's a font issue too.
Yeah, I'd noticed that as well.
Yeah, there's a few, when you print it out, there's a few font issues,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
Sharp eyes.
thanks.
Okay, so we can move down through,
So where does it, I
back into the other one, I
Sorry, go
guess it
ahead.
is there.
was gonna say, where does it actually say that a town forestry plan needs to be created?
So I would say that, we define town forestry plan.
We do, but doesn't say that we absolutely have to create one.
So I don't know if the town code is supposed to say that we're going to create one. I think by putting it in there, that's our recommendation. But in my place, I would say with this committee's recommendation, when they're ready, for this to go to the town board, we should also recommend a town forestry plan be created.
Yeah, 5A is actually pretty clear that there needs to be one.
Oh, yeah. You are completely
I
right.
think you were there.
Establishment
okay.
of a tree planting care standard.
Kind of it infers that through a back door, so to speak.
As if
Didn't
it's,
the guys-
as if it's there.
There, right. So if there isn't a town forestry plan, what would?
They'll have to fall on the tree design, and that was my biggest concern, because looking at other towns, the development of a town forestry plan is not a immediate activity.
No, it takes a while.
So that my concern was that we at least had something in there that talked about the interim, and that's where the design and construction specifications fall. But the fact that it refers to it there, that there is like a done deal, there will be a town forestry plan.
Well, that doesn't guarantee there, because you could go 100 years without having a town forestry plan and still fall back in your tree
So
maintenance care standards.
But without us having specific funding or
So the
anything, it would be difficult to.
The base
put that in there.
establishment of tree planting and care standards covers, I think, Cynette's concern of what do we do now? Like tomorrow, essentially.
Sure.
From when it's adopted.
Don't disagree.
And you're right, I think the town forestry plan will take time. I mean, this has taken just this committee almost 9 months, 10 months, well, 9 months, reasonably, not that like we're going slow. But
It's all relative.
That's how you really feel.
I just didn't want that to come out wrong. But having that we're referring to the town's design construction specifications, and that the town trees are properly cared for and maintained within the guidelines of the town forestry plan. Again, I think that because we're putting it in the town code, it would be beneficial for this committee to recommend at the same time that this goes to the town board, that the town create a town forestry plan.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I agree with that, and I do understand that you can't just automatically say the town will create a town forestry plan. It's going to take time, it's going to take some resources, there might be some funding available.
Ideally.
I get that. So as a recommendation goes, town forestry plan, I think that makes sense. Is there other recommendations that we should consider when we submit this?
That's a good question.
I mean, if we didn't know that a town arborist was going to be on, or it's proposed to be on the town's budget, that would be a recommendation that I would think we'd have in mind. But I don't know if we're really in a place to recommend. Certainly nothing that would be in the town forestry plan. I mean, I realize that, we've looked at different town forestry plans,
Sure.
but I think that would kind of come down to the town arborist.
So we could recommend maybe not necessarily using the town arborist, but using someone who's, not that I think the arborist is not qualified to do a forestry plan.
Well, we don't have one defined yet, so.
Sure.
Right. Right. We might make some recommendations around getting some funding or around taking advantage of state programs, or recommendations around maybe grant opportunities.
Like pursuing the UFC grant.
Yeah, exactly.
You could absolutely make that recommendation. I can tell you that's already a plan.
Well, that's fine, but like.
Those are good
gotta put it-
recommendations to make.
It's nice to go
So
on-
yes, you can
nice to go
absolutely
on
make that
record.
recommendation.
Well, it's good for a number of reasons, right? Because then you can say the committee's recommending it. Now, if there's some resources required to complete that, maybe you now have the credibility behind that to go after it or whatever, so.
And it lets them know that we recognize that probably something like that would be needed.
And then slightly separate from a recommendation, even though that's what you're requesting, you could make a request of the town board to have this committee in the future review the town forestry plan. That's something that's reasonable
well,
for
that
you to
would-
do, and I think
Yeah.
might cover some of your desire. Now, that's not a guarantee that's going to happen, but if you acknowledge that that's a desire of this committee, I don't see a harm in that.
I think that would cover some of
The
my
concerns,
concerns that
yeah.
we've had about this. Okay, thank you. That would,
I would say the other thing is, if it is the committee's desire that this leads toward the town becoming a Tree City USA, is that this is just one component and that we would like them to fulfill, all 4 of the standards.
That's true, because one of it was to.
This would technically be two components.
Would it?
Yeah, it would cover, because it designates the DPW as the tree department. And that's
Does
one
it
of-
really do that? That's what I think where we're,
Doesn't say tree department.
it doesn't say tree department.
Specifically.
by giving the authority to the director of the Department of Public Works and his designees, that's where it basically gives that authority.
Based on what we've seen from other tree ordinances.
And it's,
So-
you're
Tree
saying a
laws.
rose by any other name is still a rose. So the fact that they're having the authority to do this means that they're a tree department.
And because the other tree ordinances that have been reviewed fall under the same category, and that is how we are comfortable saying that would fit that requirement.
So Cynette makes a great point, though. It's 2 out of the 4, and if we truly do want to do a Tree City USA, then it needs to be a recommendation. So
Yeah, because specifically, one of the others was that, I think one was easily doable and that we have an event, right? Was that one of the 4?
Yes, having an Arbor Day event every year is one of the 4. The other one that I think you might be thinking of
Is the money.
is that $2 per capita are invested in trees and tree resources for the town. That one I would actually say is easier, because we just have to basically write where the money's already going.
Right, I was going to say, I think that, but if nobody sits down to do it, to pursue that, so would the recommendation be, since we know that this would be passing 2 of them, to say, to pick up the other 2 criteria? Is that how the recommendation would go?
I would say the recommendation, and correct me if you feel differently, I'd say the recommendation would be that the town complete the remaining items to become
Okay.
a Tree City USA.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly how I would say it too. So I
Okay.
wouldn't necessarily call them out, but put that,
You don't need to call, okay.
put the requirement on them.
And that also covers if, say, in the next 6 months or whatever, the requirements change. Like, hopefully they won't.
Perfect.
But if requirements change, that's
And so the
open-ended
town board,
enough.
if they wanted to know what those were, they would
They'd reach
do
out to
their
staff.
due diligence
Yeah.
and figure it out. Okay.
So would another potential recommendation be about documenting the existing processes for,
I think that's kind of the terminology that I believe ends up being part of the town design and construction specs,
Could you-
although
could you
you
go
are
back on
correct,
that?
I believe.
It would fall on, okay. It would fall under establishment of tree planting and care standards.
Yeah.
yes, but I think it says it in the code, which is great, but I'm saying we could specifically call out what we mean by that in our recommendation, which is to document existing care standards, and
Yeah, I think
if
that's,
it's necessary.
no, yeah, I would be hesitant to do that. I think they know that needs to happen.
I see where you're coming from, Roy, but I also see, it's like after the fact, again, and I go by, okay, well, here's policy, well, what does that mean? It means that at some point, the the Parks or Public Works would document,
Put together a set of
put together
procedures.
procedures. And so sometimes when you're reading what's written in a policy and then how it plays out, there can be a disconnect. Only because
I would hope in this situation that if there's a set of procedures, that those employees would follow that set of procedures.
Well, they clearly said there wasn't not a written set right now, that there were
Yes.
procedures. We're asking for it to be in writing.
We're asking for written procedures versus what they typically just do based on what they were trained to do or just know how to do.
Yeah.
And
I think it's actually in our definition of town forestry plan.
Yeah, is it more so the case that you're worried that a town board member may read this and think we already have a town forestry plan? And that if we say that, no, I mean, this is something that we want to recommend be made, and then it's clearly stated that you're asking the town board to pursue activities that leads to a town forestry plan that has arboricultural specifications and standards of practice in there, and then that covers what you're seeking, and it's, hammers home that we want the town forestry plan to be drafted in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we defined a town forestry plan as a written review and description of the town forestry status and goals, such as document the town's, that's a hard word. Arboricultural specifications. Arboricultural, is that a real word?
It is, yeah.
Arboricultural specifications and standards of practice, conducting town tree surveys, planting trees, and sponsoring education programs for the public. Yes, but that does not, I mean, are you saying that the town, what they do now, before we get to the actual tree, forestry plan, that arboricultural specifications is what they do now?
The standards of practice more so. So that would be the first step in developing our forestry plan, I would say, right? I mean, we want to.
I think it would be a step even before creating the forestry plan.
Oh, yeah, right, of course.
Right,
So
because we need that to fall back on while we don't
Right.
have the forestry plan, and they know what they do, but I'm just worried about the direct line from that statement to knowing, oh, we need to write down our specifications of what we already do. And how do they get from this sentence to really understanding
In
that?
my opinion, and I'll formally put it that way, I don't think it is necessary for us to acknowledge in a recommendation to the town board or in this document that needs to be done, because that's already been a conversation that this committee has
Okay.
had with the head of the DPW.
Okay.
And he acknowledged in that conversation that would be done.
Okay.
You may feel differently, and that's fine. And feel free to talk about that if you do.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree, but I do recognize that, it doesn't make sense to edit to this document, so I would agree with that. As far as what gets documented or not documented, like I live in a world of, it's great if you say you're going to do it, but how do you actually prove that you've done it versus I say I'm going to do it? I don't know.
I mean, I've already started working with the Parks Department doing it.
Okay.
So,
All
so
right,
that's how
helpful.
I know it's getting done.
It's getting done.
Okay.
But it's not a short process,
No, of
and it
course
is
not.
not the only thing on our plates, so it will not be done tomorrow, but it is
But it's in
starting.
process, because of course, we recommended it as a commit, but we have no authority to, as Roy is saying, to look back, well, you're saying it.
That
and
was a
that's-
clear, it needs to be done.
That's good enough. Okay.
Like, just to protect the town.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Then I'm comfortable then.
we're relying on, yes, on you. I have faith.
It's a process.
Well, it's good to have this discussion though and have it as part of the public record,
Well,
so.
and it's not like this committee or any other committee knows every single thing that each staff member is doing or that kind of
No.
thing. So it's not reasonable that I would expect you to know that ahead of time.
Right.
So I agree with you. It's very helpful to have the conversation.
Okay, let's get back into our draft to see if we can finish getting through all the things that we crossed out.
Yeah, so
Okay, I think
that.
you're-
So we talked about hazards, we talked
right.
about coordination among departments.
Yes. Interference and liability are.
Those are
essentially-
specific to what the town attorney wanted, aren't they?
Yes, yeah.
Which statement is that?
The
Interference.
Interference, liability. And yes, standards did not change. So these items, preferred species list, planting distances, and planting trees under electric utility lines, those were removed precisely because, I mean, when we set this out, we wanted to ensure that we weren't setting, tree standards of practice or specifications that, may end up changing. If we decide that the planting distances need to be changed based on an arborist recommendation, we don't want that written into the code.
That makes sense. That was what we didn't want to do, is why we refer back to the forestry plan, because we want it to be fluid as things change. Okay.
Right, yes, yes. And, I mean, those three specifically came from the draft that we got from what's the?
Arbor Day USA?
Arbor Day USA. It wasn't something that we pulled from like another local
town.
municipality, so I think it's
And
consistent with other
I believe our
municipalities.
draft was ordinance without a forestry plan, so they put lots of forestry plan things in there.
This one.
So this was changed because,
Let me actually go over to.
Would that be under
oh,
the
that was changed
standards?
previously because the committee felt that that statement was not appropriate.
Right, yeah.
To refer to that statement, it's unlawful for any person, firm, et cetera, to attach a wire, cable, and so on.
It was a little specific.
Little overkill too, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Especially
So-
since you can't damage a tree, and that would lead us into the minutia of trying to figure out
What's
which
considered
sign
damage,
damaged the
yeah.
tree and how did it damage it.
Right.
So that was updated based on the committee
Yeah.
determination.
And this section here removed because Section 8, or just redundancy of, knowing that the violations are determined by the town court.
Yeah.
So we didn't need that. This was the only reference to the highway area, so we just replaced it with public property. As we mentioned, we removed that highway definition. And then we removed this section because the town does not have this authority, nor do they want that added responsibility when removing hazards from private property. So this was dealing with trees that, may be or hazard or seen as a hazard on private property, and we didn't want that added responsibility. The one sentence that remained is just worried or concerned with trees that are in that public property or right of way that is deemed a hazard.
And then the rest we had already gotten rid of
Right,
at our
yes,
last
yeah.
meeting.
Did we want to just flip over to the,
The attorney version?
the attorney version? Yeah.
So I carefully went through, just so you know, took the time to go through the new one and verify that everything in our draft as finished was indeed in here.
With the addition of effective date, I believe, and severability, which are requests from the town attorney,
Yes.
and he gave us those.
We knew those were coming.
Is that the only additions, or is there other additions as well?
Header,
Yep.
it's got a fancy name at the
header,
top.
So like, for
it's-
example, what is this section? 6C, that was in the original draft as well?
6C, A5C.
Where it says you must notify the director and shall employ appropriate measures to protect the trees.
This is
according to
under
procedure.
prohibition against harming.
So Section C was formerly Section 6 was formerly Section 5.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
It was
There
Section
it is.
5D.
Or, yes.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah, so
Consult with the director versus shall
Consult with the director.
consult with the director, okay, yep.
Yeah.
Shall employ appropriate measures to protect the trees. All right,
You've all done a lot, thank you, behind the scenes there.
Yeah, it got kind of important, just given how many months are left. You know,
to move it along.
it's really hard to realize what town time ends up looking like when we meet once a month and miss a meeting, and,
yeah, all right.
just to be able to put this forth and do that.
Yeah, this is great.
And then you asked the question, were there any other additions? There was that change that we discussed with coordination among departments.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I talked about that.
and then also it's a local law rather than an ordinance due to the process to create an ordinance versus a local law, and also because the town moves forward with local laws previously and does not currently have any formal ordinances, so the town attorney felt that a local law was more applicable.
So where would this sit in the town code?
It would be its own section. Without looking at the town code, I can't define it better than that. Sorry.
There was, discussion about whether we wanted to append it to the zoning chapter, and we decided not to do that. That was
Separate, independent section.
its own
Yeah.
separate chapter.
Chapter.
Is that
Right,
my?
right. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's-
So if you look at
Yeah.
the town code, it's separated into, and I mean, this is the case for the other tree ordinances that we reviewed, that they had their own separate tree, chapter. So that's, what
It's
was our
better. It
recommendation.
makes it easier to find
Yeah.
rather
Yeah,
than
that's great.
attached to
Right.
another
Yeah.
And it's
section.
more applicable in that way rather than part of the zoning code because
Yeah.
it's more applicable to how the town works rather than enforcement of zoning.
Good. Okay, good. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I believe that we need a motion on our part to be able to say that we accept it as it is currently written and reviewed by the town lawyer.
Can we do this without Daniel here?
Yep, so
Yes.
quorum is 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5, okay.
I move that we accept this proposed town law as written and reviewed by the town attorney.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? And then we have Daniel absent. Hoping that he actually had a chance to go in and scan it, so. Thank you, Sarah and Matt, for getting it out there early enough to kind of give us some mull time on that. I do appreciate that. Okay. Now, one of the things that you have mentioned is that this goes to the town board with a recommendation from us. First of all, the recommendation is to make this one happen.
So the recommendation from us is for the town board to approve this local law.
Okay. And in addition to that, take other measures.
So the measures brought up, and please correct me if needed, the measures brought up is a recommendation of the town to create a town forestry plan and the town to complete remaining Tree City USA requirements, as well as a request to the town board to have EECC review the draft, that's wrong, the draft forestry plan once it moves forward.
And also to pursue grants or funding opportunities for the forestry plan.
Do we want to include that? Okay.
Sure. I think it's, they obviously would just, the town would obviously decide that on their own, but I think by us making it a recommendation sort of is our acknowledgement that we realize, that it's a big deal and
There's a cost and
that there's a cost and we understand these things, not just blatantly saying, go do this.
Great. So if the whole committee supports the rest of that recommendation and request, then what we will do is get the town trees local law on the town board agenda for next week to be reviewed. The following part of that process is that once the town board reviews it, they would set a public hearing so that residents can make comments if they so choose. And then following that, eventually, timing obviously depends on them. Ideally, it would be approved and part of the town code.
Are public hearings traditionally part of a town board meeting or separate entities?
Part.
Okay.
Those are at the, oh wow, I'm blanking. Public hearings are part of the legislative portion. So in most months, the town board meets twice, One of those is a legislative meeting and one is a work session. And the public hearings are part of one of those.
So conceivably, within a month's time, they may have it, if they're meeting next week.
It'd
and
be a little
maybe-
more than a month.
Probably,
Okay.
probably 2 or 3.
Ideally, the process would be next week they would review and set a date for a public hearing. The next month, so it's September right now, October would be the public hearing. Then likely November or December would be the soonest they would approve it.
The resolution for setting
Sorry.
a public hearing would be in October, and then potentially a public hearing in November.
Yes, thank you for
yes.
correcting that. So then December would be the approval month if it flows easily.
Do that again? Why did we, how did we lose September?
It has to go to them.
Right, so the work session next week is when they would potentially put it on for a public hearing, and then at that, in that October meeting, they would set the resolution for that public hearing in
Okay, so there's a
November.
time to set, and then there's that
So-
delay to make sure that the public
So it's
hearing
that
has enough
next,
time.
next meeting is a work session.
Okay.
Then the legislative meeting would be the resolution to set the public hearing. That's the difference. And then you would need the
okay.
next legislative session for the public hearing.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yep.
And then the approval process, is this only within the town board, once the public hearing? Okay.
So the town board, I think, generally leaves the public hearing open for comments for like a week. And then they take all the comments and then they move forward. There are very few situations that they'll have a second public hearing. They did that for comp plan, but that's possible.
Okay.
Ideally, that would not be necessary for this. But if it's a contentious matter, it might need to happen.
Okay. We're hoping it's not contentious.
One would hope, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can close our work session and go back into our standard agenda. Was there any other old business that we had not included on here as far as anybody was aware of? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Then we can go into new business. The first element is a review of upcoming events.
I can go through that.
Go for it.
So household hazardous waste drop-off is September 16th. That will actually be in Webster this year. For all of the sorted details, you can go to the town calendar and just click on that date. But Matt also pulled it up if you have any quick questions.
Maybe a key point in this one, it's appointment only.
Yes. Yes.
So
It's appointment,
for hazardous waste collection is appointment only.
From 7:45 a.m. to 12 p.m.
And
at
what
the
are-
Webster Highway Department.
What are they defined as hazardous waste?
If you scroll down,
Paint, flammable, and other chemicals from home use.
if you scroll down, it's
Oh, sorry.
bulleted.
Okay, there we go. There we are.
Can you make it bigger?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good. Perfect time of the year to do that.
Yep. So that is the household hazardous waste drop-off. Tasting the Blues is coming up September 23rd. That's from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. And that will be in the park behind us, Veterans Memorial Park at the Penfield Amphitheater.
And that's just for fun. That has nothing
That's just a good
environmentally
time.
related.
That's just a good time. Please tell your friends. The next is brush and recycling drop-off. We regularly have brush drop-off in the town, but this will also include recycling drop-off, and I believe shredding. Did I
Metals
get
and
that wrong?
appliance, wow. No, metals and appliance recycling.
Oh,
so
it
you
will
do
not have shredding that time, sorry.
So furniture, appliances, go back up.
I was going to say, go back,
Can you
yeah,
go up
go
a
to
little?
the little bit
Yep,
there,
there.
accepted materials.
Refrigerators, dehumidifiers.
So that is September 29th from 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and September 30th from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m.
Does this also require an appointment?
Nope.
No.
And it's at the DPW.
But no electronics.
No electronics. Nope, it's not our event with Sun
Yes,
King.
Right. And as always, Eco Park is available for other items, so I always want to give them a plug because I
Yeah.
think that's quite an amazing facility that they have there.
It sure is.
They make the note that Saturday only secure document destruction
I was
by
right.
Eco Green Park materials
you
will be
for
on
that.
site. Yeah. So different services for the 2 days. So
Oh, okay.
Well, so the drop-off is for both days, but the shredding of secure documents
Just
are the
Saturday.
second day, Saturday. So those are the main events, and then our next meeting, which is October 12th, will be the presentation by Bruce Zaretsky, the town's landscape consultant, at this meeting in this location.
Do you have any updates, Matt, on your conversations?
Yeah, so all the committee members gave back responses in the order of those that you had scored. Everyone unanimously scored forestry plan as the top, then native invasive plants as second, and then ecologically sensitive areas as third. Bruce came back and said that he will likely do one on the native and invasive plants. He did want to see where our tree ordinance was, and so I sent him the draft at that time. I didn't get a response about any specific concerns to that, but yes, I think it's safe to prepare yourselves. I don't know how much prep you would have, but yes, Bruce at this time is preparing a presentation on native and invasive plants. So.
Okay, I got to go on one of the town hikes, park department hike committee. I love to get their
Rec.
name right.
Oh, I thought
Park and the rec. There's a hiking group
Yeah.
that actually puts them. Yes.
Under trails?
Under
Trails Committee.
Trails Committee.
That's what
There we
it
go.
is.
One of their organized hikes, and was very interested as they went through that they did stop and point out both native things as well as invasive things. So I think that would be an interesting thing to suggest to him is which invasive species or non-native things is the town struggling with the most.
Okay, yeah,
So that
I'll
would
pass
be-
that on to Bruce.
I was kind of surprised at,
Where did you walk?
oh, great, Channing Philbrick,
Oh,
both up, we did up and back, so it ended up being like a 4-mile hike, so it was pretty substantial. I had never been there. I had
Oh, I
no,
like that one.
it was the history one. So the town historian had done the history component. I was clueless, so it was really wonderful. Penfield has an amazing history and geological features that I had no idea the impact of the geological features on the history, so it was good to do. I give a plug for them. That's a pretty good organization
who is the
coming up with
leader
it.
there? I mean, who led the?
Yeah, don't ask me names. Yeah. Okay. Is there any other old business that we need to come up with? I think the only other thing worth mentioning is that I will be able to attend my first meeting of the Monroe County Environmental Management Council next week. So I'm kind of excited about being able to do that. I have to thank Debbie for going ahead. She had to actually do a formal request that I be part of the group, so
And
I
that's
appreciate
because
it.
you're specifically representing the town.
Yes. So that was good.
Could I just jump back to the Bruce Zaretsky's talk? How will this be shared for people that may be tuning in or not to know that this is going to be offered specifically as part of this meeting?
I don't know if we've talked about that yet. I think we wanted to get it finally approved by the committee before that process, but it would be appropriate for us to share it on social media as well as the town website.
Yeah, I mean, at the bare minimum, it would be posted in the same way that we post our meeting agendas.
Okay.
And so we try and, we send it out to you the Friday before meeting. We can, post it that same Friday so that people will be aware that agenda item is on our meeting.
I was just thinking it might be nice to be a call out from the agenda, where people.
What do you mean by that?
It's like, oh, yes, it's another agenda. I know what that is. And maybe people won't really, when you say you post the agendas, if there's some special attention to say, oh, we're going to have this talk as part of the agenda, rather than them saying, oh, yes, this is an agenda, and they have to read it and then see the talk, but more focus.
I think it'd be viable, and we can talk to our communications director that we put it on the town website and put it on social media.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's generally like when we were doing the collaboration education initiative with Color Penfield Green, we put that on social media.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Are you
Did it make sense what I was trying to say?
I think you were talking about kind of making it its own like item on the calendar, maybe?
No, just just highlight as of this is the agenda, and somebody says, oh yeah, I know what's usually on their agenda, and
So it could be the
there's something
Energy
special.
Environmental Conservation Committee agenda featuring.
Yes, that's it. That's my call out.
We have a format we're supposed to follow for our agenda, but the way that it's shown on the website is like this. So it would be reasonable to ask our website group, which I'm sure is listening to me right now, put it on that actual call out there. So when you click on the meeting, it can also share that there will be a presentation. I can't guarantee you that's going to happen, but it's a request that Matt and I can make.
I'm almost so wondering, is there really a need to say tune in for this? Whereas we may get more reach and more attention if we tell them, look at this presentation and share the meeting video after the fact. Because you don't need to watch it in real time.
This is true.
So if you tell people, look at this presentation that was shared before the EECC, rather than say, come and listen to the meeting. I mean, obviously we want as many people watching our meetings as possible, but if we're looking at just highlighting the presentation by Bruce, we may just be able to, share that link afterwards.
A little bit of both.
But,
So
sure.
Can we, you say share that link afterwards. Can you have it live on the website for a while too, not just?
I mean, our meeting, I guess I'm.
Not the whole meeting.
It would live
just
on the PCTV website.
Sure.
So that would be the PCTV YouTube. There's a specific Penfield TV, just to be clear, or Penfield Community Television.
Riveting stuff, I know, but I'm just saying.
But if we had a separate cut of our meeting that was just Bruce's.
Just Bruce presenting the invasive species stuff.
If anything, maybe we could just put it on the conservation or the sustainability page as a link.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The page you have.
Well, so this is the calendar.
That's the calendar. Okay. Well,
so it wouldn't go there.
we have a page.
But we have a page.
Yeah.
That it could go to.
There you go. Yeah, that page.
Yeah.
And so you can do you have related pages, but sustainability.
As you scroll down, there's already videos, I think.
Yeah, I think there was. But
Yeah. So it
the video
it would go at
archive,
the top of that.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be an appropriate spot. That makes perfect sense. Okay.
Okay.
Works for me.
So then our next thing, just to make sure that we pay attention to, is we're going to fill up some of our time with him for the next meeting, but we've been spending a considerable amount of time on this ordinance, now local law proposal. So we need to look at what, do you have things that you want us to tackle, that we could talk to the town and see, if that's appropriate for us to take on.
So does that work that way, or does the town tell us what they want us to?
Well, we can
work on?
ask if we can do things. I mean, it works, there's a
And
little bit
that's
of,
similar to to the requesting
Yep.
that this committee would review the draft forestry plan.
Right.
And it works fine to do that through staff.
yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that I would like this committee to work on is figuring out a way of protecting more, I guess, ecologically biodiverse forest habitats.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
I actually have something I can share with you that we're pursuing. We're actually looking into a grant. It's a community forestry grant, community forestry conservation grant, so that the town can potentially purchase some forest land just to preserve.
Okay. Good.
But yes, that's a viable topic.
I like that,
So-
tap it.
Yeah, maybe you can explain more about that, what that grant is involved, and how we can support it on the next meeting.
Yeah, actually, yeah, absolutely.
And
Or
just to-
November's meeting, because I think you're
Oh, yeah,
not
I will
here.
actually not be here at the
Yes.
next meeting.
Okay.
So either
November.
Matt will discuss it and I'll fill him in.
Yep.
Or we'll talk about it in November.
That's right, and just what those areas, if we've defined any of those areas right now, just because I don't know where they are other than our parks, if there's,
A lot of the time, we find out information like that based on looking at our EPOD maps, as well as different people that own land that reach out to the town trying to see what they can do with it.
okay.
So that's actually how we came upon parcels that we're considering right now, but we have not formally determined if we can move forward with them yet, just because it's a process. But that grant is actually due in October.
Oh,
So I don't think this
there's no
committee
helping.
can make that recommendation in October or November. But I can tell you that I've been given the go-ahead to pursue it.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
I know another area that I would like us to think about going forward too is within the clean energy community actions is to see if there is other areas, other actions that we would like to be able to assist with. And I know that you've been doing the bulk of the work on that kind of as a
Just part of my job.
as a team, yes. It would be good to kind of really, when that whole process started, the EEAC was able to actually have a speaker come in and go through the whole process and what the grants were.
We
and
can
what
do
the
that again
different
if you
elements.
want.
So that might be something for us to consider
Especially
doing as
to
well.
bring us up
Yep.
to speed with.
Well, and I don't know
you.
if Roy was here when Rob came
No,
in either.
I don't think he was
think so.
either.
Yeah. And it's still Rob Richardson, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob Richardson is the representative for Clean Energy Communities. He's our coordinator. So anytime that I need help, I reach out to him and ask nicely, and he's incredibly helpful.
Yes. And we do have hopefully also the EPOD reviews and updates in the docket to
We
start
did
to-
discuss that previously.
Yep. So we do have work going forward.
Good. So next month, we'll get to hear how the process is going along with the town board having received our
They would expect
town law and
that.
recommendations.
Yeah.
And how where they stand with that. Okay.
Okay.
And you'll have Matt at minimum. I will not be at the next meeting. I have a conflict. But.
We'll be gentle with you.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Are there any other programs that we should be considering? Like, I know the clean energy program is great, but wasn't there one on carbon as well? Like,
The Climate Smart
Climate
Communities
Smart
program
Community, yeah.
would definitely be something to look into, ideally to start in your free time. And then if you'd like, I can check in to see if we can have someone come and share on it. I know the main contact for that, but I don't know if they do like presentations. I've just attended webinars for like staff members before, so.
and then there was some discussion a while back about modifying some of the building codes, or not, I don't know if it's building codes, but for the solar and for the battery storage and,
A sustainability code for the town.
yeah, sustainability code for the town was the other big one that we were talking about.
Yep.
Might be worth looking at that again, too.
That's something, I know, I believe that's something Daniel's very interested in.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I am as well.
Great.
Is it premature to just set deadlines to ensure that, because I know that when we were looking at doing a tree planting for Arbor Day back in January, or in those earlier months, we thought that, well, we are kind of already, we're late in the game, or we're still establishing, like, is it too soon to be like, okay, at least start having the discussion of like, okay, by January 1st, we need to have, these things in place to.
I don't think we need that by January 1st, but yes, I do think, I would say the first meeting of the year, we should acknowledge some formal timelines or timeframes for things. So like if we want to do a tree giveaway, what the timeline for when we need to make orders by, or those kinds of things would be very important. If we're going to do an Arbor Day celebration, obviously Arbor Day is a specific day. So like we need to do the preparation for that. And especially an Arbor Day celebration would be more than just the staff doing that. That would be the committee working together to put it together. So that's a little more than our normal procedures or items, and more than just our regular meeting.
So do you have a calendar of, I guess, events that is out into the next year already? So like Earth Day, Arbor Day, about the same time.
I mean, I could provide that kind of thing, but I don't have like, we need to do our orders by this day. that kind
Okay.
of
Yeah, it was
thing.
earlier rather than later last time. It was.
It's normally March.
Like, yeah, they open early.
Way before you would start thinking spring and planting.
Well, and that's, you have to, the people you're ordering from have to consider what they're getting.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, I know will not be thinking of it at that month. And then all of a sudden.
Well, we
it's
could
due.
always think about using our December meeting kind of as a goal planning, goal setting.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
To move us forward into the new year with.
I think one of the.
Whatever deadlines are appropriate on our time.
One of the suggestions that was left over from the last committee to pursue or get interest among the town was to look at a town flower, having the community vote for, like, similar to what we did for the town tree, the red maple. I don't remember. We just sort of gave. No, we didn't get very far. That was one of.
Do we have a town bug?
Oh, I don't know. It was, it was, again, promoting native species, and we had, I think Doug had actually come up with some plants, but I think upon review, they were specifically hard to come by, but, so we'll have to go back, and maybe Doug can
that on the
refresh our memory to how far we got on that.
It'd be an interesting one, too.
But it would, increasing town participation and get some excitement, plan it around Arbor Day or Earth
And
Day
if
events.
we do move forward with a town native plant or flower or something, maybe that would be the giveaway instead of a town tree.
Yes, that we had talked about that, trying to obtain something, little plugs that we could give away.
And we do have funds for this committee for whatever applicable projects or conferences or classes that committee members want to do.
Good.
Sunflowers,
The little native ones.
little ones, yeah.
What's that?
The sunflowers, the little native ones that are blooming all over now, that you can see. Very,
Everybody likes sunflowers, I'm just saying.
It's a happy
Don't
thing.
disagree.
yep. Okay, anything else that we can come up with? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close our meeting.
I'll motion to close.
Okay,
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. Okay, I'm going to declare this meeting adjourned as of whatever time it is.
5:46.
5:46, there we go. And our next meeting is October 12th.